Welcome to Fishing Fridays radio podcast, where we go behind the scenes and uncover the tactics and strategies top fishermen are using to catch more fish, dominate tournaments, and how you can get those same results. Here is your host, Mike Grady.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Dig In Fishing Fridays. I'm your host, Mike Grady. I'm excited today. I have Matt Heron here. Matt is a Bassmaster Elite Series angler from Asheville, Alabama. He's a 7-time Classic qualifier, 6-time Forest Wood qualifier, the 2016 Toyota Texas Bass Classic champ, and he's earned over $1.9 million in career winnings as a professional angler. Welcome, Matt.
Hey, how you doing, Mike?
Excellent. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, man. Sitting here trying to get packed up to get the season started. It's busy time.
So you're heading to Palatka, Florida first, huh?
Yes, sir. Be down there next week. Really looking forward to it. It's always, after this cold, we're supposed to get about 4 inches of snow here in Alabama, so I'm looking forward to coming to some of that sunny South Florida weather.
Well, I can tell you, being in Daytona Beach, Florida, it is 52 degrees right now, and the sun is out.
Well, hang in there, folks. I'm coming Sunday, so I'm bringing the warm air with me.
Matt, let me ask you. I'm sure being in the Elite Series, a lot of people know who you are. But what I'd like to do is tell our listeners, how did you actually start fishing, and then what drew you to fishing competitively?
You know, I started fishing because of my family. My dad, my granddad, my uncles, everybody fished, and it's just something that we've done. And as a child, it's just something that I grew to love, and it's just what I've always wanted to do. And then, you know, I just kept moving on and on and on. And the next thing you know, I've been competitive at everything my whole life, and it just led me to being a professional angler.
So you've been pretty competitive all your life? You played high school sports, things like that?
I did. You know, I was a typical kid. I played football, baseball, played actually competitive golf in high school. God, it didn't matter what I was doing as a child. I was always competing. So competition was just what I was kind of drawn toward. And then with through the avenue of professional tournament fishing, it just allowed me to keep those competitive juices flowing and doing it as something that I love to do.
You're competing at the highest level there is. Can you remember the first one you ever entered?
You know, I can. The first Elite Series tournament I fished, you know, I fished the Forest Wood, the FLW Tour for a long time. And back when I started in 2002 or 2003, you know, a lot of the household names that I compete against now, the big shots, they were fishing both tours. So I won't ever forget the first 2003 FLW tournament that I fished. And I'm in line to go out, and I'm sitting there looking at Denny Brower and Tommy Biffle and Van Dam and Davey Height. The list of who's who, you know, and it was something that, you know, it kind of got me, but, you know, at the end of the day, it's about blank faces, and that's just another boat. And when they say go, I'm competing against the fish. I'm not competing against them.
Nice. So let me ask you, let's talk a little bit about, you know, the competitive side, especially at the level that you're at. What's the biggest problem you find in your competitive fishing?
Well, the biggest problem that you find to me is just the changes that you're always in the weather and the conditions. As far as the sport itself, as far as the business side of it, it's pretty stable. That part's pretty easy. It's just the changes that you know, these fish got little brains and tails, and they like to swim around and change, and their world's controlled by weather and those kind of factors, and just trying to keep up and stay on top of them, what they're fixing to do next is my biggest problem.
Do you have any apps, or do you have any you know, weather sources you go to on a regular basis to determine what you're going to be dealing with that day?
I go to about 4. I honestly do. You know, my source to the world is I travel the world in a big slide-in truck camper. And so I stay pretty much in my house. I'm not a hotel or a house guy, so I like to camp. I kind of stay in tune with the weather. But, you know, every morning I start my morning with a little NOAA weather radio, and then I open up my laptop or my iPhone, and I'll check AccuWeather. I'll check the Weather Channel, and then I'll check the Weather Channel again, the Weather Channel, and just kind of I try to get about 4 sources, because somewhere in the middle of all those sources is going to be right, because I done seen before that, especially in my world, high winds or big storms are dangerous, so you need to stay on top of it. So I try to get a good combination of everything to formulate what I see is coming as a weather.
Yeah, I understand. So you got to be part competitor, part biologist, and part weatherman, huh?
That's it. I mean, you're dealing with the environment. I kind of feel sorry for these weather guys now, because I see what they're up against as far as if they heard some of the things I've had to say about them in their forecast.
Yeah, this ain't sunny and mild.
No, my favorite thing is their wind forecast. They'll say 5 to 10. I've learned. I was going to tell everybody that likes to fish, whatever the weatherman says, if he says the wind's going to be 10 to 15, add it together. If he says it's going to be 5 to 10, add it together. That's what it's going to be, because it's not going to be in between.
That sounds like good advice. So let me ask you on that same idea is, what have you learned that's helped you succeed at such a high level?
The biggest thing is I learned early on from my dad about seasonal patterns of fish, and I've kind of taken what he taught and grown with it, and then it just, if you're really knowledgeable about the seasonal movements of these fish and what they like to do, you can narrow down your search before you get to a body of water and get pretty close to what they're going to be doing. And that's my thing, is just trying to understand their movements, and it makes my job a lot easier.
So when you're looking at a body of water, especially because you do so much traveling, do you have a plan for that that particular body of water, or do you just have like an overall plan no matter what body of water you're on?
No, really, I like to break it down. Every body of water I'm going to fish into thirds. And by the time I get there, as far as doing map studies, as far as seasonal patterns, as far as weather, and what I think is going on, I like to have a lake broke down to where I'm really going to concentrate on 1/3 of the lake.
Really? So you actually break it down geographically. I'm going to pick that third.
Right. And it just depends on the time of the year and what I think the fish are going to be doing as far as what the best area of that lake's going to be. A lot of it's going to be internet research or past history research, knowing what areas of a body of water are productive at certain times of the year. But, with 2.5 days of practice in my world, it sounds like a long time, but it's not, and you don't have time to waste. So if you take a 50,000 acre body of water like we fish a lot of times, and you try to fish that whole 50,000 acres, you're done for. You won't accomplish anything. So you really kind of got to break it down and decide what you're going to do.
And that leads me to my next question is, what's the hardest part about implementing that plan? What's the hardest part about picking that third it's going to produce?
Well, the hardest part is kind of, I'll start before every one of these events, really 30 days out. Just like Palatka, I've been watching the weather patterns down there for about 30 days. And I like to kind of keep in tune with it about a month out. And that, I can kind of see what's going on. I can kind of see the changes. We're fixing to fish down here at Palatka. We're going to be kind of fishing a late winter pre-spawn deal, maybe even a little spawn going in there with the moon phases. So then I'm starting to look at, rain, temperature, water temperature, just a lot of variables to help me decide what part of this body of water I want to look at.
When you've picked your body of water, then are you segmenting it by bottom, middle, top kind of thing? Or
pretty much
versa, top, middle,
yep.
bottom?
Yep. I got the upper third, the middle, and the lower third. And, and then you break it down by seasons and break it down by what's actually in there. Does one area have a lot of big creek arms? Does one ever have a lot of big spawning flats or a lot of spawning pockets, or one area offer a lot of offshore structures? So I break it down as to what's actually in that section versus what time of the year and what conditions I'm going to be fishing.
Let me ask you, when you're starting, you get on that body of water, you picked out the third, you're starting to segment it by depth, and then what kind of metrics do you use in gauging results from working your plan? So in other words, are you going to go 15 minutes, I need to catch, this size fish, and if not, I'm moving on?
Well, I kind of got like an hour rule. if I don't see results or I'm not liking what I see in an hour, I'm gonna change. But early in the year when the water's cold and stuff, you really have to have a lot of patience because fishing in cooler water at certain times of year, then you're looking at limited windows in the warmest part of the day. You just kind of there's so many variables that go involved in it, but the biggest thing I can look for while I'm in an area, whether I'm getting bites or not, is there a lot of bait present? Is the water clarity good? What's the water temperature? You can look at the activity on my sonar on my hummingbird graphs and tell whether I think this is going to be a productive area or not. There's a lot more than just getting bites.
So, do you just kind of keep all this stuff in your head when you're on the water and stay concentrated on the task at hand, which is fishing, or are you taking notes as you go?
No, it's all up here in the mainframe, man. it's about 35 years of competitive experience, and honestly, that's just what does it. I tell these kids all the time. I've been doing this spring. I've been doing a lot of high school seminar stuff as far as working with this high school sport. Fishing is just growing like crazy, and everybody wants to analyze the differences in the levels of sports. When you start talking about baseball or football, you're talking about what's the difference in high school and college. Well, in high school, there was 3 or 4 kids that were bigger, faster, and stronger than everybody, and then they get to college, and there's probably 50 of the 75 that are bigger, faster, and stronger. But when they get to the NFL, everybody's big, everybody's fast, and everybody's strong. Well, when you get to the level that I'm at in fishing, everybody can catch them. Everybody's on the same deal, and it's the speed of the game is what it comes down to. Because when you take and you put a Van Dam or an Evan Evers or one of the, or myself out there, and we can be going along and you can run into us at 1 o'clock and you say, hey, you catch them? And I said, no, I ain't got a fish, man. It's terrible. Struggling. And then you see me at 3 o'clock and I've done caught 25 pounds. And you're going, you told me you didn't have nothing at 1 o'clock. Well, no, I got one bite that clued me in on the puzzle. And all of a sudden I took that one bite and before you could blink, I said, hello, here we go. And it's over. That fast. And
wow.
It's the speed of the game at professional fishing because all it takes is one bite on a certain kind of structure or a certain kind of place, and I can take those Lake Master cards and I can use that mapping. Because these guys at my level use that mapping a lot. And all of a sudden I say, well, he's in a secondary cove halfway back on a secondary point, and I go back there and then I catch one, and then I start running other stuff. I look around that map and I go, there's another one there, another one there, and I go over there and catch one. And when that second bite happens, look out, magic's fixing to happen. I'm fixing to wreck. But that's how fast it happens. I mean, it's just, and it looks easy on TV because you see these guys come in here every day, every Saturday and Sunday with these big old bags. But it ain't that easy. There's days that it's magic and you go out and catch 30 or 40 fish. But there's a lot of days that it's a 6 or 7 bite deal. And but it's just the process. The biggest thing that I see with fishing now is, and I try to teach, is just don't get negative. Because it only takes a very few minutes to get 5 bites in tournament fishing. So you can be having the worst day of your life and in 15 minutes be having the best day of your life. And you just got to stay even, level, and that's the hardest part. You can't get high, you can't get low. You just keep
would you say that's the number one thing you've learned since you started tournament fishing is just don't get negative? You never know when that 15-minute window is going to open, right?
Yeah, I mean, you just look. It's human nature when things ain't going right, and you start kicking yourself, and you're like, man, how did I miss this? Or, boy, this ain't going to be a good day. And then I got another little voice in my head that goes, no, keep going. It's going to be all right. Just stay the course. Keep doing your deal. Fight it to the end. And there's been more days than you could ever imagine that PMI, PMA, positive mental attitude.
Yep.
You keep that positive mental attitude, keep doing the deal, and that's fishing. That's fishing. Because more times than not, people beat themselves. They get negative, and the day's not going right. Man, I ain't going to catch them today. It's terrible. If I ain't biting. And one of the first things I ever learned that really, when I started fishing professionally, I'd come home and my dad and we'd still fish, sunfish or whatever. We'd be out there and having a half bad day, and we really wasn't catching them. Dad like, well, let's just go to the house, boy. They ain't biting. And I get furious. I'm like, oh no, they're biting. Somebody's catching them. And they would just make me so mad I could bite nails. Never tell me they ain't biting. Because when you get to the scales at 3 o'clock, somebody's going to have them. They were biting.
That is incredible advice. Well, let me ask you lastly, I want to ask you two more questions, and this is what all of our listeners want to know. What is your most successful fishing secret?
I just divulged it. Just stay positive, man. Go out on the water. Just stay positive. Stay positive.
Just stay positive and work your plan, right?
Just work your plan. Just go out there. If something's not working, try something else. Never be afraid to change. Pay attention to Mother Nature when you're on the water. That's one of the big things. Is are the birds flying around chasing bait? Are they sitting in the trees? Are the ducks sitting on the docks with their legs turned under, half asleep? I mean, pay attention to what Mother Nature's doing, and that'll give you an idea of what's going on, because barometric pressure and frontal conditions or whatever affect animals just like they affect us. And they'll kind of key you in if you pay attention to what's going on in nature, what's actually going on in the water.
Nice. All right, so that's your most successful fishing secret. Now, more mechanically, what's your most successful fishing lure? What's the bait you love the most?
I love a jig. I'm a jig guy. Just a silicone skirted or rubber skirted jig. Whether it's a swim jig, flipping jig, casting jig, with some kind of trailer, whether it's a crawl or a chunk, or throughout my career, I've learned that you don't get as many bites. It's not a deal that you go out like with a 6-inch worm. It's not going to get the number of bites with a jig that you get with a worm. But the thing is they've always tended to be better quality bites. And I think with a jig, it comes down to more of a skilled deal where it's almost like you're an artist and you're painting your own masterpiece. A fish will bite a worm regardless. If I was going to teach a kid how to fish, first thing I'd do is give him a 6-inch worm and take him to the lake with a sinker and let him swing it around. Bass going to bite it. But the art of taking a jig and fooling a fish into biting it and being able to impart your own action on it, put it where you want it, do different things and match colors. It's just, to me, it's an art form. It's something I've just gotten engrossed with and eat up with my whole life. And that's just my deal.
Man, again, all this conversation has been fantastic. You just gave our listeners a ton of really great information. I want to thank you for being on our show.
Hey, thanks for having me. And, everybody down there around that Daytona area or wherever you listen to the show, come check us out at Palatka next week. We'll be there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the 7th through the 10th. Should be a great tournament, great atmosphere, and a lot of things going on there at the ramp. So come check us out.
Awesome, Matt. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks for listening to Fishing Fridays Radio Podcast. If you'd like to be notified anytime we release a new episode, just hit subscribe and like this episode. Or you can subscribe over at fishingfridaysradio.com. In addition to that, we would love to send you a free gift. You can find that free gift at giveaway.digandanchors.com. Thanks again for listening.